Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to this size edition. You see it in an hour.
I was running too. Don't worry.
We got some special guest stars tonight, my friends. We got the legendary Josh from before, and the man of mystery, Mr. Toy Shiz. Toy Shiz, are you there, Shiz?
I'm there. How are you guys?
There he is.
Good.
There he
I'm there.
is.
Yeah, I should be here.
I love it. I love it. Well, first of all, thank you to our special guests for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Josh,
How are you, man?
What's up, Shiz?
And of course, Rob, Brad, Soka. I know you guys. I always see you guys. I don't need to say hello.
Nah, bro.
These are everywhere.
Of course. Hello to everyone in the chat. We got some nice people out here. We got Sal, Brian, Jacob, Whacker, the Macker. A lot of fun people.
The Maker? Whacker the Maker.
Macker. I think it's Macker.
Like sowing the seed.
First topic tonight, Rob's haircut. Y'all wanted to take a moment?
I was going to say something, but I didn't.
It looks slick. Looking slick.
Yeah. Brad, what do you think about Rob's haircut? Just give some thoughts, buddy.
Well, I think he should be a detective on a TV show, like a PI type television show, like a gumshoe.
I need a stash.
Yeah, well, no, you see, you're a modern PI. All you need is a Hawaiian shirt.
No, I look like me, myself, and Irene, Jim Carrey style.
Oh. I didn't even think. Now I can't unsee it. Can you say, "Oh, righty then"?
All righty then.
Easy, Tiger. Well, guys, we have a special show today. I mean, special. They're all special shows.
I think
it's a good show. We're gonna talk pretty much
star-studded.
Very true, Rob. We're basically just gonna talk about the Flash tonight. So, if you guys have not seen the Flash, might not want to watch this because we are gonna spoil the shiz out of it.
I left my notes in the toilet. I'll be back.
Yeah. Oh, you really have notes? Oh, okay. Jesus. Brad's gonna go get his notes.
Oh man, we were supposed to take notes on this? Dang it.
Yeah. So yeah, we are just gonna talk about the Flash for the whole show, pretty much. If we have time, we will talk about some McFarlane Toys reveals near the end. But yeah,
that 2-pack, right? We're good. We're good on that one.
That 2-pack. That was a choice, like I said.
That was some nice accessories.
Exactly. I like how nice you are.
That's why I say something positive.
The Ultraman head sculpt looks way better.
I like it.
I mean,
10 hands. 10 hands in that box.
That's a lot of hands.
We're gonna catch those hands. A lot of them. Yeah, the new head sculpt for Ultraman. I feel like almost everybody who has any kind of confidence, even with like Boylan Pops, swapped off the old Ultraman head. The ultra tanned Ultraman head. That one is awesome for sure.
The head kind of reminds me of Cavell from the Zack Schneider.
Oh,
I've never heard of it.
I didn't see that,
before.
but
Cavell.
It took me a second to.
Sorry, just like
Cavell.
Yeah, they should make a Mofex version of him too. Mofex.
I think that Ultraman body would be a better Superman body buck than the infected one that they keep reusing over and over again.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we get a new body buck soon.
The
only
great
thing for infected and Bizarro, but it's wrong for just like a regular Superman. It's short and hunched over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though it's kind of in scale with Nightfall now. So there's that.
I you know what? The blue on that Superman, I've looked at it up close. The blue is not, it's clearly not the same blue that the Rebirth Superman originally came in. It's a more bluey blue. At least that's what I'm seeing. The neck and the hands are a more fleshy flesh tone rather than something a bit more muted, which is awesome. So I mean, for those people who want to get into customizing, it's just a matter of swapping out trunks and belt. So there's that. And then the face sculpt. Have you guys talked about the Smiling Soups face sculpt yet?
No, we have not. So
okay, I'll wait till somebody else brings it up before I don't want to wreck it because I know you.
I think it looks like the guy that did like the the Noid and the California Raisins, like
Yeah,
stop
I see
motion
that.
animation.
Oh, California Raisins.
That style of like stop motion animation. That's what it looks
Yeah.
like.
Okay. To be fair, people don't usually try to make a smiling soups, right? And to be fair, a teethy smiling action figure is kind of tricky to pull off. Like, think of all the teethy smiling figures you've ever seen, right? They're kind of tricky to pull the teeth area off without having it look really weird, like a mouthful of chiclets. So you get the closed mouth. I do feel like with this one, I'm gonna give it a chance. I'm gonna heat it up. I'm gonna boil it, and I'm gonna squish the head like in more like that, and then cool it really fast. So
Yeah, the chin is bad.
All you gotta do is boil it and stretch it out, guys. Jeez.
No, you gotta narrow it. I feel like if you narrowed the head, then
It looks like Mrs. Doubtfire, dude.
Jesus Murphy.
Woo!
Toy Shiz, what do you think, Toy Shiz? I didn't hear your thoughts. What do you think?
I like Atomica. Yeah.
He's saving it for the.
And I like the hand and the Daily Bugle thing is great.
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
Daily Bugle.
That base is awesome.
Yeah,
Daily Planet.
yeah, the head. No, I'm not doing it.
Like, I feel like if they would have given us like the reborn belt, at least that would have been different enough.
Yeah, that would have been this. In that case, this is a little bit of a missed opportunity because Reborn is clearly the better of the two during the Rebirth era super suits.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
because he has red boots, right? Yeah, red boots and the Rebirth belt don't match. They're not.
Yeah.
That's not correct.
Right.
I want to see that Ultraman body with red trunks and just a regular Superman shield, and I want to see a Superman with that body, but.
Well, the thing is, if they were the blues are always so different. If the blues match enough, you can do body part mix and matches, right?
Yeah, the undies are super easy to swap out.
Yeah, well, everything is. Once you can boil and pop the entire figure apart, even the hair. Like you could, like, look at this. You can do wig swaps, like I do them all the time.
Nice.
They just come right off, and you can pop them on. I'm stoked. I am stoked about this. I'm not even gonna lie.
Are you?
Yes. Even with the.
Are you really?
Even with that, I'm stoked about it. Yeah. I'll get the eyes though. I mean, the eyes.
There's hope there.
Yes, they look warm and inviting.
You're such a nice guy, Brad.
He's had too many bags of chips, right? Too much beer.
Blue Beetle. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, like inviting
Blue
like
Beetle.
an old lady that's offering you cookies.
Let's talk about Blue Beetle before we get into the Flash stuff. Just while we're chatting about figures, let me hop over back to Instagram.
What are y'all drinking tonight? Anyone have anything to drink? I got a Calypso. What do you got?
I got some early meetings. I don't get to drink.
Tea.
You got a tea. What do you got there, Rob?
Tea.
Oh, you got the tea, and you got the Mountain Dew Code Red.
Drinks. Oh man, I gotta get a drink now. I'm not gonna feel out.
Toy Shiz, go get a drink, buddy. We got time.
Get down with your alcoholic self.
Toy Shiz, drink some great coffee.
Yeah.
What time is it where you are, Shiz? Are you on our time or?
It's 6:09 Pacific.
Wow.
Yeah.
The night is young where you are. It's 9:09 where I am. That's.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm on Ahsoka's time.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
The West.
I always forget. Yeah. Brad, you're in Canada, and Josh, you're in.
I'm in Indianapolis.
Indianapolis.
Yeah, it's 9 here.
Yeah. I'm on Toronto time, I guess you could say.
Okay. Yeah. No, we're.
But what do you think about this fur coat edition of Bane?
I don't like fabric stuff generally, but this looks interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing it. An effort was made, with the leather and the fur.
Yeah. I'm with him. I'm gonna have to wait. I mean, I like cloth goods things if they're done right. If this doesn't have wires, this coat will be a little bit unruly. It'll just want to stick out. But I'm gonna wait till I get it in hand. It's a neat accessory.
Yeah,
I'm hopeful.
Rob,
I like that they're trying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just think I would have preferred plastic. Something sculpted would have looked cooler.
Yeah,
I think so. All right. Well, let's hop over to the Blue Beetle. So the first Blue Beetle that comes with the sword. What do you guys think? Toy Shiz, what do you think, sir?
When I did a video the other day, I had said that this is one of those movies where I'm genuinely looking forward to it because I could care less about this version of the Blue Beetle, and it looks like a lot of fun, and I can finally just turn my brain off and enjoy it. And I think the figures bring that fun with it, so I can go, cool. I Carapax, whatever his name is. Doesn't look like anything I really know, so I'm kind of just like stoked on the Blue Beetles, to be honest. But
nice.
He's not that much of a used villain. He does have a history, but he's one of those like, yeah, he doesn't have like a lot of story behind him compared to a lot of other rogues. He's a Blue Beetle rogue, right? So
like the original Blue Beetle, right?
Yeah, I believe he's a Ted. Cord, he's a Ted Cord rogue first.
Okay, well that'll go good with that 2-pack with Booster and
Teddy
Cord. But I just think that this suit is so close to what you see in the comics that it's for me. I just go, that's a comic book Blue Beetle. That's a movie Blue Beetle. It doesn't matter. So,
goes on the comic book shelf and not on the movie shelf for me.
Yeah, and I like all the attachments. I get people's complaints that they're saying, "Oh, I wish they did one with all the effects," but you think about it in terms of they got to produce at least figures, plural. Yeah. So at least that one comes with a bunch of hands, and that's what I'm really looking forward to. So.
And the Blue Beetle is a completely new sculpt, so I always take it down to something with like that, because when you have a figure that has no reused parts, right, then you kind of know, okay, Todd really went all in on this. This is like a $50,000 to $100,000 figure just to make it for the steel. It's not cheap. We're going to see these two figures, and I feel like we may even see another release of this as like, I don't know, gold or something special. One of the patina versions or something, because he really does have to make his money back. If we want figures that have a whole bunch of brand new sculpted parts, we're going to see reuses at times. That's just the way it is. And that's what keeps his head above float. Pardon?
There were 3 Black Adams.
Oh
yeah. Throne Black Adam, regular Black Adam, and Cape.
I would have liked to have seen like a cool pack into one of the Blue Beetles. Would have been like an unmasked Jaime Reyes, if that's more. But
maybe that's coming.
Maybe there'll be a 2-pack.
Yeah. Well, see, that's another way. I mean, at least if they do it, please put in like the regular Blue Beetle head too. You know what I mean? Later down the road. But I'm glad. Like if you think about what Marvel Legends does, you would have gotten like George Lopez, the girlfriend, like all these random characters. And I think that it's kind of just short and sweet. Like keep it simple. Here's Blue Beetle. Pick one, and here's a bad guy.
Yeah,
I kind of dig that.
Less chance for things to warm the pegs, and then make it that now the one you just had up, Ahsoka. Yeah, the villain. Carapax looks frigging awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's amazing. I love the look of that figure. It looks
that's something you get. It looks like you don't care who it is.
It looks like a Gundam, or it looks like one of those robots that. What's that movie where the big 2-person robot?
Pacific Rim.
Pacific Rim. It looks like and I loved all the robots, the Jaegers in Pacific Rim. So I didn't pre-order this one. I have to, but I will end up getting it. It's fantastic. I love it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
What about the statues, guys? What do you guys think about these statues?
It's pretty.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
I want to put it in my bathroom. No, because my bathroom, I painted it blue.
Oh, there you go.
So I want to have like a bunch of statues in my downstairs crapper.
Yeah, and this one you can have him taking an upper decker.
Right there.
You can actually put them on the top of your toilet tank.
Yeah.
It's very squatty.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You could use some brown Play-Doh and actually... Never mind.
I feel like you could probably do that pose with the action figure too. So,
yeah.
He looks like he's really giving her hell, eh? Constipated, drank too much.
Did they send you this 3-inch Blue Beetle?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because you know how these are scaled down versions of the bigger sculpts. This is going to be a cool 7-inch figure.
Yeah.
This comic Blue Beetle.
What?
Yeah.
Do you think we're actually going to get a comic version?
Oh, yeah.
Not just that?
Yeah, he's got a movie coming out. They just like Black Adam, they pretend like he's somebody everybody knows, and they put out,
that was that's a careful choice of words. Pretend like it's somebody that everybody knows.
Yeah, like Black
Adam.
They put out multiple comic versions of Black Adam the year he had a movie.
I'll take as many Blue Beetle figures as I can get, actually.
If they're gonna have a gold label unmasked, it's probably gonna be a Walmart because it's a blue character.
Good point. You have Red Beetle. Target's probably gaining for that, right?
Yeah. Well, there was a Black Beetle.
Wasn't there green? Somebody said in the comments the other day, I hope they make green, and I totally forgot about that. And I was like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
There was a drumming beetle.
I love those hands.
That
I
one
love
fell
Rambo.
flat.
I got it, man.
I caught that one.
Let's go, Jerry. Let's go. All right, I'm sorry. That was a high pitch.
Yeah,
Let's
that's a
move
beautiful
on
figure.
to the meat of the show, boys. Now, Toy Shiz, did you see
Yes.
the movie?
Yes, I did get to go and see it, so I
Oh,
can fully participate now.
Beautiful.
And I'm gonna
beautiful.
I'm gonna
All right.
tear this movie apart.
Oh,
Okay. No,
No,
you know
I'm just
what?
kidding.
That's what I
actually-
fucking wanted
I
to
actually
hear.
really liked it.
Okay. All right. This is how we're gonna do this, boys. I'm gonna put up some topics. Try to keep it organized. That way, we're not all just like giving 20-minute tangent reviews. And we'll start with that.
Yeah, I need to
Cool.
be reined
How
in,
about-
Ahsoka.
putting spoilers for anybody who hasn't watched it yet.
Yeah,
Guys, this is spoilers. This is all
Spoilers.
going to be spoilers. So let's first start off with just our letter grade of the movie. Go around the room just so we know kind of baseline how we all felt about it.
Pardon me.
Toy Shiz, we'll start off with you, sir.
Letter grade?
Letter grade. Let's start off with your letter grade.
Like we doing pluses and minuses, or just full on?
Yeah,
A's, B's,
pluses,
and C's?
minuses, yeah.
Um, in the full across the board, that did have some wonkiness with the CGI. It's kind of, I mean, obviously it's a retelling of Flashpoint, which I think we've seen lots and lots of times. But I actually found myself really enjoying the performances of most of the characters, so it was a solid B+ for me.
Okay, okay.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's definitely
All right.
fair.
Josh, what about you, sir?
Yeah, you know, I'm not a the Snyderverse has never really connected much for me. So I went in with like zero expectations. Like we all came up at the time, you know, we saw Batman and Robin come out, right? So we know, you know, we've had our broken, you know, by stuff coming out. So I ever since, you know, you go in with no expectations. And my girlfriend and I took some edibles and saw it in IMAX and solid B+.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Almost
Okay.
is, yeah.
2 B pluses, one with an asterisk because of the edibles,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
still, solid B plus.
2 B's and a gummy candy.
Sober or otherwise, you're good. It'll be a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bradley, what about you, sir?
Well, being that it was my second time watching it, I will say, and I swear to God, my wife's attested to this. I wasn't just like hallucinating. Someone did come into the theater from Warner Brothers before we watched it, and they said that there was no credits. There were after credits. There was an after credit scene that wasn't going to be in it because we weren't seeing the final cut. And they said, B, the CGI was not finished. So I said it. She said it might look strange, but the CGI is not finished. And I kind of feel like that may have been told to us because we're the hype team, right?
Yeah.
They gathered from around North America, Canada, America, maybe probably all over the world. Like we were part of the hype machine. Like we're part of their media. They invited us. We see it, and then we write a review about it. We talk about it. We, you know, we're also they film in each theater and they put it on their social media. So maybe they didn't want to tell us. I don't know for sure, but I can tell you, I saw no distinguishable difference in the CGI. None. Like the babies looked. I was expecting they were going to look better, and they looked wonky. And I can't chalk that up to the Speed Force, like Andy Buschetti had said. Right? It's a Speed Force. When they're in the Speed Force,
We'll get to that, Brad. Go with the grade first. We have a whole section on
right.
special effects.
Well,
Sorry.
I told you I need Ahsoka to rein me in because I have ADD, and that just fucking happens. Okay,
Sorry.
I would say I give this 8 batarangs out of 10 because I really liked seeing Keaton back in the role. I think he did a great job. He wasn't actually the 89 Batman. He was a take on the 89 Batman because he didn't inhabit the same universe as Nicolas Cage. And then, yeah, I'd say 8 out of 10. I really, really enjoyed the movie. And I think that the acting of brain fart, what's his name? How can I forget his name? He's all over the media for being a
Well,
fucktard.
save that. We have a topic on him.
I think he did a good job. So yeah, those alone right there, I enjoyed it thoroughly.
All right, so we got 2 B pluses, an 8 out of 10, which I think translates to like a B plus.
Yeah, about a B plus.
Well, B plus, okay. Mr. Haircut, Mr. Rob.
I'd say an A- for me.
Okay.
Very good.
I will also go in at A minus. So there we are. So at least we all enjoyed it, though.
Yeah.
That is the
Yeah,
general
definitely.
consensus.
Yeah, that's
More
good
than
enough.
enjoyed
Yeah.
it.
I had a
Okay.
great time. I really liked it.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think any of us walked out of there really thinking that Like, I know I didn't walk out of there thinking I wish the story was different. I thought the story was,
Yeah.
it could have shown a bit more, but as is, it was fine. But I'm not a very smart person. I can't nitpick a story. So,
Oh, we'll get there, buddy. Don't worry. Well, let's move on then to the Flash, specifically Ezra Miller. Now, you guys can talk about him any way you want, but trying to keep it in the realm of the movie. Obviously, they have issues and they have things going on. But as far as Ezra Miller's performance as the Flash, Rob, we'll start with you. What do you think about Ezra Miller's performance?
I personally loved it. I thought that they did a great job. I mean, it felt like two different people. I know I was trying to figure out how they even filmed it. And then people were saying that it was deep fakes. And some people were saying it was two different performances. Either way, I personally couldn't tell the difference. And I thought that you genuinely could feel that it was two different performances.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought his acting was solid.
All right. Toy Shiz?
Yeah, all things about Ezra Miller aside, because we'll just strictly treat him as the actor. I mean, he's pretty dang good actor, I have to say. And I was like kind of blown away because I think, kind of like what Josh said, I've never been a fan of the Snyderverse. This was the first time where I was like, oh, I like the way these characters are portrayed. And I liked the way Barry Allen was handled. It's completely different Barry Allen than we're all used to seeing.
Yeah.
It makes sense for the tone of this movie and the sense of this movie. And a lot of his mannerisms that he does, especially in that last scene where he gets to see his mom one last time, I was genuinely like, this is sad. Like, they did a great job.
Yeah.
Just little things, little quirks, little things, tear and all that kind of stuff. Genuinely, like, heartfelt, out of a superhero movie. Like, totally like, oh, wow, you kind of need this sometimes with the goofballness of a comic book movie, the intense violence, the sadness, the story that just is science fiction. And then it's kind of like Futurama. You know what I mean? They kind of, it's very much humorous, it's action-packed when it needs to be, but underlying tone is very human. And I think that that's where it kind of really nailed it. And he nailed it in his performance.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Josh, what about you, sir?
I agree with what Shiz said a lot. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate because Ezra Miller needs to go away now for a while.
Yeah.
That performance. Excuse me, hang on.
Glug, 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 glug.
But yeah, the older and younger version of himself, it was just really, really well done. And like Shiz was saying, like the tone of the movie changed to meet each version of the character, and it could be like really serious, and it could be really Looney Tunes, and it was just really, really well executed, and probably one of the better performances in a superhero movie.
Yeah. I think that I think that nails it. That's like one of the better performances in a superhero movie. I think that was like that's right on the head. I feel like one thing that was really nice to see was Ezra Miller's character. You could see how he had progressed. Like, there's character development there from when we first see him to where we see him now. And that character development, they kind of cheated a little bit because it's also furthered by we get to see past Barry. Now, past Barry is going to be a little bit different than past Barry would have been at that age, because that's a past Barry who's never dealt with the grief of his mother dying and his father going away to prison because he's been accused of it. But I feel like Barry, unhinged without all of it, the issues and the burdens, that's a pretty accurate take on what Barry would have been like. So I feel like we get to retroactively see a lot more character development, knowing what he would have used to have been like. And I think that I went into this thinking about Ezra Miller, like, okay, how many people in Hollywood, were shady, questionable, or even pieces of shit? Lots of people are and have been pieces of shit in Hollywood. And I just thought, I can't boycott the movie because Ezra's in it, because so many people have put so much time into it, and it's already done, right? And I don't want to boycott Keaton and Andy and all the people that worked on it, right down to the people who were doing the catering. So I was like, I'm going to see the movie. I'm going to take it for what it is. And the thing is, I kind of knew that Ezra was going to kill it the whole time, because I know the Flash kind of sort of cheapens his acting skills. Like when you watch him as the Flash previously, he's funny, he's good, but I never really saw any real acting chops there with him. But he does have previous roles where you can. So I thought, okay, he's definitely going to do a good job in this one. I just didn't know how. And yeah, I was blown away. And I think that, just as you guys have previously said, so I'm going to tread the same ground, between him playing the two different versions of himself, you know, I think that he did a great job. And the defining factor for me was the seriousness of the one, right, who kind of grasped the weightiness of the situation, compared to the sort of maniacal laugh of the young one. You know,
Yeah,
right?
that was funny.
And I was like, okay, this is really, really good. He has to get into not only two different characters, but two characters who are the same character. Therefore, they must have similarities, and that's got to be challenging. So I got to give him credit where credit's due. He did bring it home with this performance for sure.
Yeah, I concur with all of you. I mean, I think you all nailed it. I think my favorite part was when he gets his powers, the other version of the Flash, and he's the music they play and just how excited he is. Like, and that's great. And I think you guys nailed it. Like, he's playing a younger, different version of himself.
Yeah, a more immature version.
And more, yeah, exactly. Who wasn't affected by all the trauma. And yeah, I think they did a fantastic job. So yeah, I think we're all on the same page on that one.
There's someone here. This is going to get lost in the comments, so I do want to point it out before it gets lost. Scott Derby says, my only critique on the film is this: after Barry's dad is found to be innocent, why didn't we even see a hint of who actually killed Nora? Now, I think that you're right, Scott. We didn't really see much about it, but people had guessed about it, and we were told by Buschetti. He said that it was Reverse Flash that did it. We should have seen it. You're right. That should have been the ending scene. Like, that should have been the scene. The final scene should not have been the one we haven't talked about yet, so I'm not going to mention it. It should have been Reverse Flash, kind of like they did with Sinestro in the end of the Green Lantern movie.
Yeah, that would have been.
They
good.
could have revealed the villain, and it would have driven more hype for the next movie if they get a next movie.
It seems like they in a way, I'm sure they shot something like that, and then because of everything now changing, they were just like, let's not continue this anymore.
Yeah.
But it's a good point, because even watching it in my head, I'm like, Reverse Flash killed her, and then they never showed it, and then I was like, but who killed her? Like, we never got to that point. So
Yeah.
Any astute comic book fan or Flash fan would know that, but the general public, I think, to your point, this person's point, wouldn't know that, right? Who the hell did it, right?
I think, to be honest, that's the majority of this movie, is like, this is for a very specific fandom, because a lot of people are going to watch this and go, what the heck is this? Like,
Yeah.
I want to know why he didn't eat that candy bar that the girl threw at him.
Yeah. He could have picked it up pretty quickly.
Why didn't he eat it?
I know.
Yeah.
He should have, right? He's the Flash, boom, gone, but
It legitimately bothered me.
that's
Guys,
fair. That's now it bothers me. Thanks, Josh.
You're welcome.
Josh, well, since you have the Batman t-shirt on, let's talk about Michael Keaton's performance. Josh, take us away. What did you think about 89 Batman?
Last time I was on here and we were watching the trailer, and I didn't want to like kill anybody's buzz, but like it wasn't doing it for me. And like just seeing CG Michael Keaton flying around, like big whoop, right? And then in the movie, like I loved it. It was great. It totally worked. It was like I was rooting for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It totally won me over.
Yeah.
And it was just, it was the tone of the movie being willing to just like go, I think, get serious, get a little lighter. And I mean, if nothing else, I was thinking like, if nothing else, if all we got was just that one little short scene of him like stitching himself up and looking in the mirror and being like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be worth the whole thing. And so it was great.
Yeah. You could tell that he felt alive again.
Yeah.
As Batman.
Yeah.
Toy Shiz, what were your thoughts on Mr. Keaton?
Yeah, that was like a good scene, especially no, this would be the second time he died. When he's like, there's no way we can save you, is there? And he's like, you already did, kid. And I was like,
Yeah.
That's cool. It's I understand. I think we all understand. It's like, as much as we talked about the toys beforehand, calling him Batman 89. You know what I mean? It's the weird offshoot universe, but it's still Michael Keaton in a bat suit. And so that's where you get like the heck yeah. Like, this is going to be cool. And I like this when he was doing like the Big Lebowski thing at the beginning.
Yeah.
He's making
cousins dinner.
He like beats him up and he goes like, you guys hungry? And I was like, that's Bruce Wayne from that Tim Burton universe, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Like
some people were annoyed at that. Some people
I
didn't think that
thought-
was an accurate portrayal of Bruce Wayne, and I was like, nah. Have you seen the
yeah.
first two Batman movies? Like he is kind of like that.
I like
That is his thing.
I actually like, I'm one of those people where, if you look at, a lot of people are comparing this to Across the Spider-Verse, or was it Into the Spider-Verse or whatever it is now.
Oh yeah.
Which is fair because now all those superhero movies have gone into multiverse sort of situations.
Yeah.
But I very much like this over the new Spider-Verse because it was very comic booky, and not to say that Spider-Verse wasn't, but the story of that didn't mesh well with the characters that I think of in my head. Whereas these, they worked. It was like a fun story, and it wasn't overly populated by so many different characters, and so many different like things going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say though. Oh wait, we're talking about Batman. So I don't want to get off track. Oh wait.
All right.
I like seeing the King of the Wicker people again.
Yeah.
No, Wicker people.
The bees.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rob, what did you think, sir?
Rick Wicker man.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as they walked in that room, I was like, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Like I thought his performance was fantastic. Like the little nuances that he does with his face, like twitches and his hair and stuff. It was like so Keaton. I felt that the spaghetti, like that whole thing was just fantastic. How he explained the whole multiverse.
Yeah.
But like one thing
he
that I
needs
loved
some
about Keaton is like, Barry got hit in the leg with one bullet and he's down crying. And then Keaton's like stitching himself up because he got shot so many times. And it's like, he didn't bawl about it. He didn't do anything. He just like stitched himself up with a smile.
He's used to it.
He loved it. And he looked in the mirror and he was like, this is awesome. Like,
I mean, I couldn't ask for a better performance. Like just in the kitchen alone, like when he's doing his little nuances with his head and stuff, I was like, that's Keaton. That's awesome.
Bradley?
Yeah. Keaton is I think that Keaton he didn't just play Batman well. I think he's truly one of the greats of his time. Like I think he's one of the greatest film actors of all time, hands down. The guy, what he can do is amazing. And his facial expressions, how he can convey emotions. Some people, when they act, their faces are they're more like a stump. You're looking at a stump with the face carved into it. Not Keaton. He's very, very animated. He takes his craft very seriously. And he also loves the character of the Batman. He loves the fact that he is the first serious film Batman too. You can tell, right? Like, he gives like speeches to people for their, university grads, and he's like, "I'm Batman." Like he loves the character, and it really shows with his portrayal. I thought it was funny that he did that whole scene with one flip-flop, with one sandal, right? Because the other one was off, right?
Yeah.
I guess in haste, kind of hid and left a sandal out. I liked the idea that, like, the little things, like remember when he grabs Flash when he's powerless, and he shoots his back grapple up, where they're in Russia, and Flash kind of gets onto him. He looks at him like, "What are you doing?" And then he grabs him by the seat of the pants. I thought that is so Keaton's Batman. Just grabs him by the seat of the pants and drops him face down in the snow. He's like, "You're not cuddling up to me. What are you doing?" And he just his character, he plays it so well. He readily jumps into the line of danger. He's like, "Well, this is going to hurt." Whoop, and he goes, right? No real hesitation, just psyching himself up. And I feel like even though this is not a direct sequel as such to the Keaton Batman that we all know and love, I feel like it basically essentially is, just not. And so this was a really nice way to finish that Batman's chapter, because he never got it finished. He was supposed to be in that third Batman movie, and he was like, nope, this is trash. And he opted not to be in it. So this is a really nice way to bring it back around and let him go out on such a high note for his Batman career. I think he was fantastic. And let's face it, a lot of it was CG, but he had to do a certain amount of the practical activity. And for a 70-year-old, I feel like he could do more than I can, right? So yeah,
I mean, especially considering like even the '89 Batman, that he had the ballet guy doing most of his movements while he was in the suit. So it's always been, a combination of things. But
I thought that was him when he was on that Kryptonian giant guy, right?
Oh yeah, that's totally him.
Wasn't Keaton flipping around? Come on.
That was definitely Keaton flipping around.
That's CGI, man. That's good. That's some good CGI.
Now going from
Keaton was
one
both guys.
Batman
He was the Kryptonian also.
to another.
It was a dual
Choices.
role.
What do you think about Batfleck? About Ben Affleck?
Ben Affleck?
Yeah,
In the movie, yeah.
in the movie.
When, like I said, when I do my videos and I was talking, a lot of people, they have to tell me like, oh, I'm wrong. Snyderverse. It is like, there's things that I like about some of those movies, but genuinely they just didn't work for me. And that's to say that there's other versions of movies which
But
totally
that's fair.
do.
That's totally fair.
Yeah.
If you don't like it that much, it's fine.
Yeah, and it's one thing to, in a way, like you're trying to make yourself like things, which I've never understood. Like things like I love DC, I love Marvel, I love all these superhero stuff, but it's okay when they're bad. You can say I didn't really like it. It doesn't have to be the worst thing ever, because they're gonna make another Batman coming soon. Give it a couple years, just get another one.
Yeah.
But as far as Ben Affleck goes, I liked. So he was blue in this, right? He had a blue costume.
Well, kind of. The color grading also did it, they said.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
but
okay.
yeah, he was supposed to
that.
appear as blue, yes.
Yeah. I think that he looked from the time he gets dropped off in the the jet, what's that thing called? The Flying Fox.
The Flying Fox.
Yeah.
Or a version of it or whatever it was. And then from that time and then doing all that stuff where Carmine's son, I think that's who it was.
Yeah.
Was blowing things up around him. It wasn't until they got to where he gets lassoed by Wonder Woman and he gets pulled up where you saw him in the suit. And I was like, why does that look so bad? I thought it like genuinely it didn't work. And it kind of was distracting because I felt like the CGI Batman looked 10 times better than that. And then when he kind of,
you're going to say that,
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I genuinely liked Ben Affleck as this Batman of this universe in this movie.
Yeah, definitely.
As long as he's not killing people left and right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You could tell he was having fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When he starts admitting everything.
Yeah, right. Well, and even just from the get-go when he's like, Falcone's son has a virus and he's going to drop it in the water. Like, I was like, yeah, I'm on board. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very comic booky, and I liked that about this movie. Like, it was so dumb. It was, most movies have to take everything so seriously. It was just straightforward, like, oh, okay, Carmine's son.
As soon as the baby started falling out the window, I was like, I get it. I'm on board.
Yeah. That was Flash comics, right? He goes, the best line, he goes, it's a baby. And then he goes, shower.
So good. So good.
Well, is there anything else on Affleck's performance anyone wants to mention, or Brad, Rob?
I thought that he did a good performance. I do agree with Toy Shiz that like he didn't really look great when you saw him with Wonder Woman, but I just felt like overall, like when he was just talking to Barry in the alley or whatever, he looked tired. Like he was just
He
exhausted.
looked a little worn out.
He probably is.
He looked a bit Ozempic to me. Ozempic face. You know how there's that saying Ozempic face. People that Affleck got a bit. Okay, well Ozempic, you lose weight pretty quickly, and so your face and Ozempic butt is a thing because those are places it's very pronounced when you've lost weight, and Affleck clearly lost a lot of weight in comparison to when he played Batman for Josh Whedon's The Justice League. He was definitely bigger there and let himself go a little bit. And then you saw after that he'd let himself go. So Yeah, I know. I just saw someone who was on Ozempic or had lost a lot of weight.
He
Okay.
kind of looked like in that one scene where like the other Barry Allen puts on the fake Batman Flash costume and he like turns around and it's like off to the side.
Yeah.
You know, that's what
Yeah.
it kind of reminded me of for the Ben Affleck thing. I was like,
Yeah.
it just doesn't fit. It's not working on his face, you know.
Yeah.
What do we think about the blue and gray suit?
More of that, please.
I mean, I like blue and gray, but not that suit.
Right. Yeah.
No, yeah.
He's got a metal friggin' brassiere. He's wearing dirt bike armor.
I hope Todd makes that whole hall of armor the way Hot Toys is gonna, you know.
Yeah. The
Did you
Keaton
guys
Hall, yeah.
see the artist?
yeah.
I think it was the guy that drew the Batman '89 comic. Did a bunch of designs for the alternate costumes, and he did some inspired by like the old Kinder toys.
Oh yeah.
Oh, was
I'll
that
bring
on
it up.
No, I
Twitter?
didn't see that.
I may have seen that. I think I know what you're talking about.
I haven't seen it.
I'll send it to you. I know I sent it to Rob. I'll send it to you guys. It's cool. It's super cool.
All right. Oh, Rob.
Rob.
Rob,
He'll be back.
he'll be back. Well, while waiting for Rob, let's move on to Sasha Callier's Supergirl performance. Brad, I want to start with you, Brad.
Okay. First off, I feel the need to try my best to, as not assholishly as I can, say that I think her last name is pronounced Kaye. Kaye. I got corrected by somebody because I've been buying heads from Mudman, and we were messaging back and forth, and he told me the proper pronunciation of her last name because I've fucked it up 3 ways from Sunday, and then he gave me it's Sasha Kaye. Kaye.
Kaye?
Anyway, I don't know. Never mind. Don't listen to me. None of us have pronounced it right. That's what I do know. It's
I'm not
weird.
surprised.
Anyway, I feel like I wish that with her I get it. Like she decided to join with the boys in fighting Zod because she saw how Zod treated the humans, right? And she's not a people of war. It's only Zod and his posse that are the Kryptonians that are a people of war. So I get it. That's what they're trying to say, cause her to come back and help, fight. But when she was like, not my people, and there was like nothing really worth fighting for the humans, I really wish she had a moment where she flew off and we got even 5 minutes of footage with her seeing some of Earth's beauty, and then her flying over cities or towns and using her, telescopic vision and seeing families. Maybe she flies over a family camping and sees the love between the family and stuff. Something that makes her understand that humans are worth saving, because she fought to defend the humans, I feel, not because they were worth saving, but because she didn't like what Zod was doing to them. So it was just like a knee-jerk reaction because she saw it as an injustice. But I really wish they had have gone with that. That would have developed her character like 10 times more, just having 5 more minutes of footage showing why she fought and why she cares. Other than that, I mean, she didn't really... She didn't have much to say. Like, they didn't really give her a ton of lines. She was badass as Supergirl. Like, she kicks the shit out of Zod, and she's so much more unhinged than Kal-El. She's not holding back like Kal-El is. So she's just going all out and punching Zod as hard as she can. And she knocks him out the first time. And Clark never managed to do that. Right? Because she clearly is a trained fighter with that whole kick in the head and then slam down with the heel thing.
Yeah.
Like that's a trained fighter. That's not someone who's just being sloppy.
Rob.
He's back.
Rob!
I was having technical difficulties.
It's okay, buddy. It's okay.
We made fun of Ben Affleck. I know. It's fine.
He's out of there. So yeah, I thought that she was great in the role, but the thing is she's supposed to play it stoic, right? Because she's only really ever experienced the human race from inside of that Russian steel scrotum. So I think she did good for what she was hired to do, but I don't think she had a chance to really spread her wings and fly other than being angry and rage filled for the most part. It was good, but not a lot to comment on, I guess.
All right. Josh, what do you think? What did you think?
I think the trying to shoehorn this alternate universe Man of Steel stuff is kind of like one of the problems with the movie, like one of the weaker aspects, I think. And I think it's, kind of because not a lot has actually happened in the DCU. You know what I mean? There aren't enough like big eventful moments to come back to. So she just kind of didn't have a lot to do, but she has a really strong presence. And, I mean, the scenes she was in, I bought the character. She just didn't have a lot to do. I love that when they throw her out, into the sunlight for the first time, and you kind of see her like weakened, frail state. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, that was great.
Swole,
like a
cool.
dinosaur in the water.
It was cool. And I think Brad, I think you're dead on with just showing a little bit, one more moment, like the way that, when they pan down to young Barry, and you find out, he was listening to them talking about how his mom died. Like that little moment is enough to like connect the dots of his, like growth. That just one little moment is enough to go off of. So just showing something like you were talking about, Brad, something that gave her like a reason to kind of.
Yeah, depth. A depth of a reason, rather than just like, well, because she fits the Supergirl role, or because this person fits that role or this role, right? Then they will do that thing, right? The person does the thing. What's the reasoning behind it, though?
Right. Well, I thought it was because of young Barry's talk with her, because he said that not all are bad, not all are good. There's some people worth saving.
Well, yeah, I mean that happens, and then she goes off and she sees Zod, murder a bunch of humans, and then she comes back, right? So but what we need to see, okay, well, who is worth saving, right? She had to see some of the people that were worth saving. Instead, she just saw a brutal act. That's what I got out of it anyway, a brutal act, and that caused her to move forward. But I wanted to see her seeing the people that were worth saving. Like, yeah, you're right. These are just people. They're like me, but they're earthlings, right? They have families. They love. They have, aspirations and goals, and condense that into 5 minutes of footage.
Yeah.
Fair. Toyshes, what did you think about her?
I generally like what she did in the movie, and I would say that I'm, being a comic book nerd and nerd in general, I am so attuned to now seeing different variations on all these different characters. And while I prefer like Supergirl is blonde and she does, the whole Justice League, the standard costume, whichever you want to call it, even like the old Superman, the animated stuff. I like that. But when you have a new representation of her, that's kind of like my knee-jerk reaction, like, okay, it doesn't really fit the thing, whatever. But you always have to reserve judgment until you see the movie. And genuinely, for the story, for what her role was in this story, it really worked, even in retelling Flashpoint with her then taking the Superman 1 clone or whatever it was from Flashpoint that he was. She's all gaunt and everything in the beginning, and she finally gets in the sun. And it serves that aspect of the Flashpoint story. And they gave her, I think, enough to just kind of substantiate that. We didn't learn too much about her, but I think we got enough to have that version of Supergirl in. And then we just, unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever see her again. That was like that universe, and now it's done. So,
yeah. So
it was fine for what it was.
Okay. Rob?
I actually thought she did a fantastic job. I do agree. I think like we could have had more with her, and I don't know, like at least she was there for Superman. Like we got that part of it, but I don't know. It just felt shoehorned in kind of thing. But like the part that bothers me, I think the most, is how she got her powers so quickly. Whereas she just learned, kind of like with Zod, I guess, in the first movie of Man of Steel. It didn't take years or months or whatever to learn the powers. She just kind of already did them. So
she seemed like she had experience with those powers.
Yeah.
Like she had used them before.
Yeah, I mean,
I
don't know how long she was captured, like we don't know that, I guess.
Yeah. I feel like if they were to make a sequel, which I don't feel like they will. Well, even if they did, she was going to be in it because they were going to totally fuck up the film universe even more than they, had. No, I don't think we would have found out then, because they kind of skipped. Okay, the end scene, like they're talking. Oh wait, I don't want to talk about the end credit scene yet. Crap, I have a thought, and it attaches to something else. Never mind. Let's just cut me
Go
off.
for it, bro. It's all right, dude.
No.
You can say it.
Here, go for it, dude. Come on.
There's no structure here.
At the very end, can I say this? Like who the Bruce Wayne is in the end? Then
Yeah, spoilers
Yeah, you
galore, my friend.
so in the end of the movie, it's revealed that the Bruce Wayne, because he did change the universe, because for one he left and then came back, and just doing anything in another universe is like a step on a twig, and it's the butterfly effect. So who knows what happened? But then when he comes back after saving his dad, getting him out of prison, ultimately it still is a different universe now, right?
Yeah.
And so that Bruce Wayne ended up being George Clooney. For those
Yeah.
of you who didn't know, George Clooney was in that. And so a lot of people were confused. They were like, well, does that mean that George Clooney is going to be the Batman going forward? And he's not, because it was
I still
James-
think he should be in Aquaman too. I think that would have been fantastic.
That'd been great.
Yeah,
Like the worst universe to be stuck in.
Oh,
dude, I have to say that Barry's line, when "Who the fuck is this guy?"
Yeah.
Like that was probably my favorite line of the whole
That was
movie.
great.
My wife was upset with that.
It was
because
awesome.
He says the fuck word. Okay, but hold on. All right, so George Clooney is the Batman. A lot of people were like, does that mean he's the Batman going forward? No, he's not. James Gunn has tweeted out, no, he's not the Batman going forward. Now, if you don't stay till the after credit scene when Barry is talking to a drunken Aquaman, then you don't catch it that Barry, to fix what happened with George Clooney, actually went back and forth a whole bunch more, because he says, I got to fix this, right? And he goes back and he's talking to drunken Aquaman about how there's all these different Bruce Waynes and they're different. And then Aquaman finds out that, but you're pretty much the same. Like you're a big, lovable, guy pretty much in every universe. So clearly what's happened is we saw George Clooney, and then he has gone back, fixed it even more to bring back, I don't know, or to make the current Bruce Wayne or whatever. So, but if people didn't know any better, they'd think, oh, George Clooney is the Batman going forward, and he's not. And that's only explained in the after credit scene. If you stayed around,
not
the
very
movie.
well
I don't think
either.
anybody
They
would
caught it.
actually think
No,
that he was gonna be.
Yeah, I had to think about it. Like I had to stop and think. Wait a minute, was he multiple Batmans? Okay, well, he only saw the one Batman, but he's talking about all these different Batmans.
If somebody
so he
walked out of that
clearly went
movie
back.
and really thought that George Clooney was going to be the Batman, then that person is maybe not like a serious person.
A lot of people did. That's online. That's a lot of people. They were like, George Clooney, I'm out. You look it up here, like,
dude, I
people
would
are
love
like,
him to come back and redeem himself as
Oh,
Batman.
yeah.
That's my
I
personal.
think
Yeah.
it's like they caught George Clooney like shooting an espresso commercial, and they were like, "Hey, you want to do this real fast for the Flash?" Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what it kind of seemed like.
Yeah,
Danny DeVito was in the corner.
they were across the
Like, "We doing
street.
this?"
He's like, I ain't shaving my beard though, so
Yeah.
you guys can fuck off. I'll be
Yeah.
if I can have my beard.
Yeah,
Can you imagine him wearing the bat cowl with that beard? Like
I did.
nobody's still knowing who it is underneath. You know?
I would like to see a sequel as long as it's because I want the new DC universe, the new film universe, to be a clean slate, wipe clean, start over. That's what I want. Stop messing around. Just do it again.
Yeah.
However, James Gunn has said that he will have like a few Elseworlds kind of things going on. Like there will be certain things like the Batman universe is going to be separate. So it's like, why can't we get one more Elseworlds movie with Ezra Miller's The Flash, right? That isn't connected, that we can just see more fun stuff happening. Like, why don't we actually get George Clooney as Batman? That would be awesome. I would pay to see. Shut up and take my money. I know it's stupid and not connected to anything, but I would watch it because it's fun. For sure.
Now, speaking of previously, George Clooney's other characters, what do you guys think about Nick Cage as Superman?
that was hilarious.
Loved it.
That was so
Goofy, but
funny.
I loved it.
The giant
Well, I
spider.
dodged that
I
bullet in
mean,
the '90s though, but yeah.
that's so funny.
Isn't that great though?
I'd explain it to multiple people. Why
Yeah,
that was
I
there.
mean, yeah, nobody's
Yeah.
gonna understand that, and it was like
Yeah.
on screen for way too long. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like, why
It's
did
like,
they
oh, we're
not
in this
show like
movie now?
they were showing an alternate Nick Cage Superman for like 3 minutes, and they didn't show the TV flashes, either one
Yeah.
of them, in the Flash movie?
Yeah. I wanted to see Kingdom Come Roth as well. I was really hoping to see Kingdom Come. And I think that Cavill was done dirty. I feel like
Also-
Oh,
whether,
yeah.
whether people like Zack Snyder's Justice League, Cavill did the best job he could with the material he was written, right? Because he wanted to be that joyful Superman for sure. I definitely wanted to see more people. Absolutely.
What do you guys think about overall, like the selection? I mean, obviously Grant Gustin should have been. You had all
He
the
should have been
time.
in it.
You had some rando Flash in there in that
Yeah.
scene.
Well,
Like-
there was the '90s TV Flash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Grant should have been there with the Green Arrow together, right, back to back, like facing off against villains or whatever.
The one thing that I didn't like was the whole Chrono Ball thing. Like, I didn't like that whole thing.
that was supposed
The
to
whole
be the Infinite Earth.
concept. Yeah, I mean, the whole concept I just didn't care for. Like, I just wanted him just to like run
Yeah.
and whatever. Honestly, the cameos did nothing for me. I mean,
Yeah.
it was cool seeing the stuff, but like Nick Cage was the coolest one out of all of them. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. It just didn't really resonate.
See, Nick Cage like that worked for me because I saw the digital short. I'm not sure if you guys saw it, the digital, like the CGI animated short with him in the super suit. If you haven't seen it, look it up on YouTube. It's fantastic for what it is. But I was a little bit like, I loved seeing Reeve and Helen Slater again. But when I watched it the first time, I was like, oh, okay, the CGI is not done. They look a little wonky.
Yeah.
And then that was what we got like in the theater. And I thought, oh man, like that Reeve face looks just like my Mezco 112 collective Reeve face.
Well, it was weird because like when you first see the Reeve face, like it looks so fake, but then when they pan around him, then it starts looking realistic, and I'm like, why doesn't the front look as good as that? I don't know.
'Cause
Yeah,
there
they
was
got the
some
backs
bench
of
fitting that
heads
happened.
down pat. They can do the
Yeah.
backs of heads all day.
Yeah, I
You want
guess.
to see the face though.
Ear and hairs, that's easy stuff.
Yeah,
See, Raj,
and Helen
what do you
Slater,
think?
when she came in, like the hair looked like it was like underwater.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
was just like whatever.
Rob, to your point of like, I didn't really care for the whole kaleidoscope gyrosphere
Yeah.
thing. I think it would have been, instead of seeing all the like the universes kind of colliding, because ultimately visually it's like, okay, how do we do this? And it just seemed like one little vignette, like over, here's this, where I think it would have been kind of cool if, I mean, that would kind of, undo the story a bit in terms of what happens. But if the Flashes were fighting the Dark Flash and they were colliding through all, like you'd fly into one of the universes.
yeah.
Oh, that's
Right.
George
clever.
Reeves is kind of like, what the
Right.
heck? Like, you know what I mean? Like right below
Yeah.
his feet.
Right.
And then
That
the
would've
next
been
time they're in
cool.
like Batman, the animated series, you know what I mean? Like where they're just running through and maybe kind of just bypassing all of them. It's like flying through the giant spider. Ends up
Yeah.
helping Chris.
That would have been great, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have,
Yeah.
I get why. I mean, it's like watching a comic book, obviously, but
Yeah.
that would have been a little bit more, I think, action packed and maybe
Yeah.
a little bit more humorous to go along with like the sheer absurdity of it. Cause like
Yeah.
Christopher Reeves and the Supergirl are just like, oh, there's a giant rift in our universe.
Right.
Yeah, they had that look on their face like, well, now we're fucked.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
what do we do? I don't know. Let's go stop Lex Luthor. I'm sure Gene Hackman's doing something.
I did like that the one universe was black and white. Like
Yeah.
the one floating
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. And it was
Those
nice to
black
see
and white.
George Reeves.
Yeah.
Like it definitely was Kirk Allen. I don't think Kirk Allen was given any time.
No.
Yeah.
I know that certain things it'll be like the estate or whatever, like you got to get permission, but yeah, I think you're right, Shiz, like going into them, like that would have been awesome if they had fought their way through all those infinite Earths that were crashing, right?
Yeah.
That
Like,
would
and
have
they
been
just
so
kept
cool.
like, you know what I mean? Like it
Blowing
just,
through them.
yeah.
Yeah.
And- which
Yeah.
also is kind of sad as well. Like you're like, oh, everyone's dead. Like Batman 66 universe is dead. That's sad, but okay.
Yeah. I agree with Rob and both of you guys. Like, it had no emotional, like, anything.
No.
Those scenes.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage was great. This movie was
Yeah.
like, dude, it was just amazing seeing that finally after, almost 20 years. Not 20, maybe.
Yeah,
about
yeah.
almost 20 years.
The
Yeah.
first Superman with long hair, which was
That's
They
like,
were
right.
talking about
90s,
Nicolas
you know?
Cage, Frig, a couple
98,
years
I
after
think,
Batman.
right?
They were talking about it, and there was buzz
Yeah.
not
It
long
was-
after
yeah.
Batman 1992 came out.
It was when Wizard was
Not
still-
long.
Shit, you're right.
Yeah.
But speaking of cameos, the effects, the special effects, let's talk about this for a minute. So there's been a lot of scuttlebutt about the special effects. The
Wait,
director
hold on.
said
What's scuttlebutt?
that means like chatter, like
Hubbub.
chit chat. Yeah.
Okay, I
Oh,
just
sorry,
never
we're
heard the term scuttlebutt.
I guess I'm using
before.
these over 40 terms.
Nope, it's good. Well, I'm over 40.
I
just
know.
never
That's
heard
true.
that before.
But what did you guys think about the special effects?
I was on edibles.
There you go.
So they look great, man. I just fucking ate like 5 gummy bears.
Look,
Trippy as
I mean,
hell.
we saw it in IMAX. I'm not an idiot, you know. I was sitting there and I was like, why did they make a CGI Ron Livingston when they filmed with him? But you know, I liked the visualization of the Chrono Bowl. I thought like it worked for me.
Especially if you're trippy.
The layers of you know of moments, and then different versions of those moments, you know. And it kind of reminded me of a like a zoetrope. You know that thing that's
zoetrope?
It spins and it's got a bunch of images on it, and when it spins,
Oh,
it looks like it's moving.
Yeah.
So I dug it, and it was weird, and like the babies looked fake, and you know. But the tone of the movie, like I, you know, I was saying earlier, that trailer wasn't working for me. All the stuff that kind of looked like cringy and like whack in the trailer, within the tone of the movie that was happening, it totally worked for me.
Yeah.
It didn't matter that it was kind of like fake looking, because it was really funny when they like blew everybody in the air when they were punching them in the nuts. Like, you know what I mean? That's it's good enough for me. That, you know what I mean? So. Yeah, they look I don't know. They don't look right, but it didn't ruin it for me.
Mr. Toyshes, what do you think?
They were bad.
Right to the point.
And honestly, it didn't if that's the worst thing I can say about the film, I mean that was really it. I enjoyed the story, I enjoyed the characters. The CGI was definitely off. It's not because of the Flash. I mean, even if you want to say that, it's like PS1 graphics in some sense. You know what I mean? It just it doesn't work. It doesn't work visually to keep your mind in the story. It's too you watch it and you go,
yes,
oh, that's fake. Why is that baby so fake? You know?
Yes. So. Yeah. Suspending of disbelief can only be really challenged when something doesn't look good. And that's how you know they weren't right. He can give whatever excuses he wants for that Flash in the Speed Force thing. If it doesn't look right, it doesn't look right. They could have given everything a sheen, but get the proportions of people's faces right.
The only reason I think it might have been a choice is because, like, the moment from the Batcave with the Batwing, that whole scene with Keaton, all that is perfect, right? Like the CGI.
Yeah.
The Batwing is obviously fake.
Yes.
Everything is CGI, but that looked phenomenal. Why did the rest of it look like it did?
Okay, I've got a question though.
Yeah.
We know the Batmobile was practical effects. Would have been nice to see the damn thing drive on the road at least friggin' once. We didn't, right? The closest we got to seeing it in action was Youngberry, like eating in it and napping and shit like that. But the question is, was the Batwing at all any kind of miniaturized special effect?
I don't think
so. Right?
Think
so. You think it was all CG, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well then here's my thoughts on the special effects, because this is what I was thinking. There's times when they are laughably bad. Times when I have to tell myself, just enjoy it. It's a movie. I remember what it was like 25 years ago watching Flight, and it didn't look real, and we just were like, fuck it, it's good. And now, for example, I had to take a step back and go, okay, so there's the CGI that we know didn't look right. It sticks out like a sore thumb, just like Superman's terrible CGI, bottom of his face. You can't not see it. It's terrible. However, what about the CGI that we don't even notice, that we take it for granted that will be done properly, like Supergirl flying?
Like Ezra Miller, there being two of them, like half the movie.
Yeah,
that's
was
amazing.
Good. That was good.
That's amazing. So I do think to say, like, what do I think of the special effects and the CGI? I think that's a tough question, because there are times when it's perfect. It's clearly perfect because I didn't notice it. And then there are other times when I'm like, yep, someone got fired that day. Someone does not have a job in another movie because, this is their resume, and it's terrible. So
the movie was also changing constantly all the way up to release,
Yeah.
So time becomes a factor.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, a few years back, I mean, dude, the rhinoceroses in Black Panther look like the rhinoceros in 300. It's like one of the worst things I've ever seen.
I
It's just
never
a
saw
weightless
Black
blob.
Panther.
And I mean, you know what I mean? Nobody was really
Yeah.
crying about that.
Well,
It's
the
'cause
thing
it's
is,
Marvel.
but a lot of well, that's probably one thing. But a lot of it is, like, we all know that the opening weekend for The Flash did 55 million domestically. It did 70 some odd million. What was it, worldwide or something like that? Which for a superhero movie that's supposed to be, you know, like a big one.
Brad, hold you. That's one of my topics, Fred. Don't go there yet.
Okay,
Don't go
okay,
there
yeah.
yet.
all right. Well,
Easy,
I'll back up.
Tiger.
Okay, but
Easy.
my point is that I think one of the reasons why they would have released it if the CGI wasn't completely done is because they put so much money into it and they have to recoup some more of that money, and they're like, fuck it, we just release it.
Cut our
Right.
losses.
Right,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
and that's like in spite of the fact that we know our people who did not go to see it, specifically because Ezra Miller's into it. Like, if they're not,
Yeah.
we're not going to make them believers, right? They're not going to change their minds, so they just were
And
like,
some
"Fuck it."
people just
Everyone who wants
shit
to
on
see it is gonna see
DC
it.
just because it's DC too. Like I mean, people want to see DC fail. I mean,
Now,
Yeah,
I
Rob,
think,
what did you think about the effects, Rob?
I mean, I agree. Like, some shots were completely fantastic, and I had no clue how they did the whole. I mean, I know that they could do rotoscoping and all that type of stuff for the two berries, but I mean, it was flawless in my opinion. Some of it, yeah, might have been stylistic, but some of it's bad. I was watching Grace Randolph on Beyond the Trailer, and she said about the babies being fake on purpose so that, like, people don't get in an uproar about, like, you're doing this to babies. Like, how did you film that? Where you just are like,
Only
this is a
stupid people would
laughable
say that,
moment.
though.
You know, this is a laughable moment. Let's just, like, have at it just because it's so ridiculous. And it was ridiculous, and it was freaking awesome. I loved it.
Yeah,
awesome.
that was
Yeah.
the one CGI part that I'm like, I don't care. Like, it was
Yeah.
it was fine.
The
And
baby
the-
microwave
and
was
the-
hilarious.
And the
Yeah.
end scene, like, as the credits are rolling with the dog,
Yeah.
like, that
Mhm.
screamed Guardians of the Galaxy to me.
Yeah. For Deadpool.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
was not in the first one I saw. We didn't even
Yeah.
get that. It just was like the end of the movie. Who the fuck is that? Boom, black screen.
Yeah.
So
There-
the dog was awesome. And it was okay CGI. To be fair, the dog was actually
Yeah.
okay. And it was just trying to bite for everything. Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that that one girl that you said was her name, Grace Randolph. She is pretty much right. There's movie mandates that you don't mess with kids and babies and dogs and things like that. I mean, that's genuinely probably feasible that's why they went that route.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you're doing the close-ups and stuff, I mean, they're all real babies. So I mean,
Yeah.
the normal person would go like, obviously there's not children in danger for this movie.
Right.
Yeah.
If they had done something with the babies to glossy them up somehow, you know, to show, like, not just having these like poorly rendered babies in CGI moving slowly. If they had done something with the babies, like maybe surrounded them in, I don't know, lightning, just something, glossy them up or sparkle them
Yeah.
up, do something with the babies so that we're seeing them in the Speed Force a little bit different, so it's obvious, so it doesn't just look like bad CGI. I think even that would have been better. Yeah.
All right, guys. Let's talk about your least favorite scenes or choices for this movie. Choices. Kick it over to you, sir.
Oh, you're gonna put me on the spot.
Yeah.
In all honesty, the least favorite, because I feel like ever since Man of Steel, they've always shied away from like these big epic building scenes where like carnage and destruction is going to go on. And I think that it had some fun stuff going on, but the whole last final act of them fighting in the
Speed Force.
Mojave Desert or wherever they were.
Oh
you
yeah.
know, it was just a CGI cluster, and it was, some elements were good, some elements didn't work. I think that may have been the weakest part of the movie until they got to where we meet Dark Flash and we get that like the resolution of that scene. You know, I think leading up to it was kind of in and out for me.
Okay, fair enough.
Hmm.
Fair enough. Brad, let's go to you next, sir.
What was the question?
Least favorite scenes or choices that the film made,
Least favorite scene.
or something you don't like about the movie. We can make something of that. That's okay if you don't have any.
Well, no, just give me a second because it's not a 10 out of 10 like the new McFarlane Batman.
Oh.
What didn't I like about the
Okay,
movie?
let's hop over
I
to
didn't.
Rob.
Okay, I didn't like how they treated
No.
Cavill. That's the only thing I didn't like.
Oh.
I did not, because unlike Toy Sheds, and I totally understand your point for the end of the movie.
Mm.
But I got the ADD, so I'm looking at everything like, wow, this is like, I'm just like, amazed by what I'm seeing. So I didn't even notice like any of the stuff you're talking about. It's completely valid. I just didn't notice it. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. How are these two speedsters going to stop these Kryptonians? Oh, they got the weird hand thing. That's a lot of fun. And then they discover together how to like keep, transferring their energy or whatever, combining it to each other. Like, I thought that was fantastic. The only thing I didn't like about this movie, I feel like they totally shafted Cavill. That's it. Everything else, I enjoyed it. Like, I did.
Fair enough.
I changed my rating from an 8 to a 9. Yes, 9.5.
Okay.
Yeah. Fuck my old rating. 9.5.
It's like Homer Simpson giving ratings like 9 thumbs up. What the hell is that?
Rob, over to you, sir.
I had thought about this ever since you asked us this afternoon, and I honestly can't really come up with a scene that I can give you like 5 that I loved, but
yep.
As far as like a scene, like, I mean, I guess the
Or even choices, or even like story elements, something you did.
Yeah, like the Chrono Ball, I guess. Like, I didn't like how they did that, and I thought that the cameos were I think that maybe because I absolutely loved everything else, to be honest. Like his goofy running, especially when he didn't have his powers running.
They made fun of him.
I mean, that was fantastic.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
They totally made fun of how he runs on purpose. That was chef's kiss beautiful. That means they're completely and totally cognizant of the fact he runs like a gimp.
And like he's sorry, Josh, like he's running backwards, like going back and like rewinding time. I thought that was kind of interesting too, but anyway, go Josh.
Oh, the Flash run looks so goddamn stupid, but I respect the commitment to it. It's like the Bale Batman voice. It is stupid, but it's also like I understand why you're choosing to do that, and I'm not gonna fight it that hard.
Yeah.
God bless.
It's funny in this movie. I really don't like a lot of stuff when it comes to comic book stuff. I think it was one of those movies, honestly, where I could just kind of turn my brain off and enjoy it because I had zero hopes going in. I'm like, you know what? The way things have been going, let's rock and roll. Let's see what happens.
If you're expecting dog shit and you get hot dogs, then it's gourmet. It's all right. Yeah.
Josh, anything you did not care for in the movie? Anything specific? Scenes, choices?
I think it just like they're being so reliant on Superman plot points, and even Supergirl. There's just not that much of a presence in the movie. The desert throwdown is just not memorable enough to be some like pivotal, point of nexus of time activity, whatever. And it's still, I'm saying this, the movie is a solid B+, but those are the moments where I was starting to feel the length of the movie. Like the only times, honestly, it was a long movie, and only a couple times was I like, all right, let's go.
Yeah. Dragging a bit.
Yeah.
Speed it up.
Yeah.
I think for me, the only thing really is how they wrapped up Supergirl and Michael Keaton. Like they really didn't. Michael Keaton got like something to say at the end, like, "Oh, you saved me, kid." That's something.
But
like,
that world
Supergirl
dies, right?
Yeah, she's gone.
They're like, well, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like,
she never
doesn't die because they go back and fix things. Well, he goes back and put to before it. So
That was
that kind of
it was really sad when Batman goes, he's like, I'm going down, but I'm not going to be the only one going down.
Yeah.
And he crashes into the ship, and I'm like, that's not going to work. And then you see it, and you're like, well, that sucks. But I'm glad they had a second death scene for him.
Yeah.
I like the second death scene. At least that was something. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, I like the characters so much that for Supergirl and Michael Keaton, I would have loved for them to have. I know originally one of the original endings was them at the courthouse. Michael Keaton, Supergirl, they were there, and they got reshot. So I would have loved to just seen that ending. If none of it counts anyways, you know.
Which is why Batgirl was thrown away probably too, right? Not just a tax thing, but that probably would have been his entrance into the universe. So that's the Batgirl.
Right.
Ahsoka, to your point, like that's a big thing that I'm having with let's say the more modernish superhero movies, Marvel included, is that nothing matters anymore.
Yeah.
Because of this multiverse stuff. And so you see all these characters dying, and you're like, oh, no worries. I'm sure there'll be a different version.
Yeah.
You know, so that's one thing that's kind of deteriorating the story and the fun of any type of continuity or just memorable staying power for these movies, because they keep changing. Everything is so mishigosh behind the scenes that it's bleeding into the actual entertainment, and that's not cool.
Yeah,
see, and I'm kind of the opposite. Like, I'm so used to, for example, DC rebooting all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They're like Flashpoint. I'm not even going to talk about pre-Flashpoint. They're like Flashpoint with the New 52. Oh, then we have the soft reboot in the middle with Convergence. Oh, and then we have Rebirth, and then they keep doing these, like, you know, relaunches and stuff like that. That I'm kind of like, okay, I'm down with it. Wouldn't it be neat if comic books, if you had a few main titles that like maintained, maybe you have like 10 titles in the DC universe that maintain, and then everything else, that universe consistently every couple of years, every 4 or 5 years, just reboots, and it happens like clockwork. So they can tell whatever stories they want for a 2 to 4 year period, and then they reboot it and they can do whatever. So in that time, like, there's a reason why Injustice, even though that version of Superman is not my version of Superman, but I understand his motives. And dare I say, many people would probably do what he did if they had his power. It's not real. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of the main universe, right? So people are like, this is fucking interesting. We get to see things happening that we would never see usually, because you can't go really killing off main characters because they're cash cows, right? You have to bring them back because they're the ones that make DC the money. And they can play it off that they're dead for so long, but they do eventually have to bring them back. So that's why I think there should be 2 timelines, one that keeps going and we can see Superman age, like actually age, and John Kent take his place and all that kind of stuff. And then one where they just keep rebooting. I like that. So for the film universe, to bring it back, I would be okay with the idea of them doing a film universe for a decade and then rebooting it and then having another decade-long film universe where they can just start new.
We're about to get that, I guess, not like intentionally, but more or less.
Yeah.
That's about what, you know,
because the previous one was a unmitigated disaster. It wasn't like unified enough. Yeah. But why can't we do that more often? Like, so yeah, Shiz, I totally get your point. But I would love to see that, because then they can be like, whoops, we fucked that up. Let's start over again. And we know what's going to happen.
No, and exactly. I see. And I agree with what you're saying too. There's a multiverse of possibilities here, right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, it's like, okay, you look at it in terms of the movie studio. Movie studios, they just want money. Do whatever it takes. If it's not working, forget it. Reboot it. So there's always going to be more and more and more of that. Infinitely.
Well, what we're seeing now too is something we've never seen before. At least not that I can remember. We have multiple film versions, for example, of Batman at the same time. Which they never would have done that before.
Yeah.
Well, I still think.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No.
I was just gonna say, like, I think, like, as comic book art, the style changes and like the art changes. I would be totally okay with them continuing the story and just changing actors because, they don't want this actor to keep going on, or they age out of the role. Just like a new artist change, and this is a different looking Superman. But
I think Brad agrees with you.
Can I just say my idea for the last, I don't know how long, has been that DC does not do what Marvel did. Do everything with the very best quality CGI. Make your character models so that they are the ideal versions of each character. And then make your cities digital cities. So you have Metropolis, Gotham, Atlantis, you have Themyscira. Have all those places, and then you have that digital world created, and they are there. And then you put those characters in there, right? Real people in motion suits, but you don't have to keep recasting Superman and Batman. And you can have that universe, if it's really successful, for 15 years, and the actors will never age out of it, right? Because you have a version of Superman who is consistent and doesn't age. You have a version of Batman that doesn't age and is consistent. Personally, that's the way I think that comic book movies should be done, because here's the problem. We see a lot of comic book movies and they're doing things that are like, a lot of the uniforms and the powers of comic book characters are so unbelievable that it can be challenging to suspend disbelief at times, right? But comic books, by their very nature, are ludicrous. We all read ludicrous stories, right? Shazam! Bam! I'm a boy that turns into a man, and I'm wearing a big red cheese suit with a lightning bolt. But it works in the comics, but it's challenging to present that to TV and movie. If you have a CG universe that is still you can tell it's not real. I feel like you can get away with a lot of that stuff and suspend disbelief. So my point is, that's how I would do it. I would totally do it so that they're not real. No people.
I mean, I think that if Universal could buy out Warner Brothers, then DreamWorks do like superhero movies. Bam. I think that could be cool.
Yeah. And that is the way things are going to go eventually, right? Like, that eventually studios are going to create digital characters, digital actors, and they are going to loan out the likeness. They're going to you're going to pay whatever studio to use that actor's face and voice, right? That day is definitely coming.
I agree with the guy in the comments, William Freeman. I think there really is comic book fatigue. I think that's part of it too. Everybody has superhero fatigue now, and it's whether it's DC, Marvel, anything that has to do with even the boys. Everything that is now looked upon as superhero comic book related, I think that it's just, for a lot of people, have been done to ad nauseum.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of the animosity comes from too, because they expect this exactly, and movie studios are supposed to try new things. It can't be exactly all this time. You're supposed to see elements that you realize and elements that you appreciate. And The Flash nailed that. It had a lot of stuff in there where I was like, it's not exactly, but it has enough for me to go, sweet, I like that. But I think with Craven, that just the trailer alone, and I'm not one to rag on a movie because of its trailer. I always say wait to see, but there's nothing in that trailer outside of some allusions to spiders and stuff where I'd be like, why ever make this? Because there's no Spider-Man within any, there's nothing. So
same as Blue Beetle, right?
And I think
love it, but who's it for? It's for us.
But it might be a good way to, again, maybe if it's good, which fingers crossed is good, get a different superhero in and have that, be a little bit, not this, another Batman, another Superman, it's like Blue Beetle. Okay.
Case in point, did anyone think that Aquaman was going to be as big as it was? I know I didn't.
No,
$1 billion. I had no idea.
It was a great movie. Yeah.
It's not just superhero fatigue; it's continuity fatigue. I think people are sick of having to keep up with
too.
The whole universe, and they just want to go see a little single thing, and they can enjoy
instead
it
of watching TVs or whatever. You
don't have to see all the tie-ins.
I think as much as I love geekdom with Star Wars, Marvel, DC, all that, I feel like it's detracting from the old popcorn flicks that we used to get in the summer, and we don't get those types of movies anymore because they're so busy doing comic book or Star Wars or whatever. I don't know. Maybe we need to return to that, but Hollywood doesn't seem to have any new ideas anyway. I mean, it's all rehashing the old ones.
It's a
Yeah.
it's a good point with the continuity level though, because I mean, what's the first thing we all do after the movie ends? You sit in your seat now and you wait till a inevitable after credits scene, right? So now we're done with
Yeah.
that, and then you turn to the person next to you and you're like, "Well, thanks for coming with me. Can I explain to you the 15 things you probably have no clue about from this movie?"
Yeah, do you know who Mr. Mind is? Can I explain that to you? Yeah.
I mean, even with this film, everyone was like, "What?" I'm like, "Oh, come with me. We have much to discuss." You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like it's becoming too much for the general moviegoer, whereas the nerd is relishing it. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'm the type of person that like if I like something, I want to like share that with other people, and I want them to be able to like see what I like about it, and maybe they enjoy it too. But like my girlfriend didn't read Wizard magazine, dude. Like I don't want like if I have to explain a bunch of stuff to her, it's not a good movie. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's not fun for me to have to be like, oh, what?
Well, yeah.
She's gonna enjoy it because I explained something that happened. No, she's not gonna
Yeah.
appreciate
Yeah.
that at all. But
When
if you
has
make
that
a
ever
charming
worked?
movie that everyone can enjoy,
Yeah.
then great. Have a great time.
Yeah.
it's like the Marvel stuff now, because you have, let's say the Doctor Strange, for instance, unless you saw all the Disney Plus shows leading up to that movie,
Yeah.
you would kind of be at a loss on top of having
Yeah.
watched 10 years worth of Marvel stuff as well. So it is
Yeah.
it's very much a continuity thing as well. So
Well, I feel like after the Avengers, the final Avengers, I personally feel like they should have said, okay, let's give it a break for a year or two. Let's make people want more, and
Yeah.
then just start new. Right.
no, I agree.
The second,
like
the
yeah.
second, like the next phase they did, as much as I liked WandaVision, I thought WandaVision was awesome. That's one of the ones I really liked. I didn't watch Loki. I didn't watch the Captain America one. Like I didn't watch almost anything else after. I feel like people are like, why the hell do I care? Like, why do I want to see She-Hulk? And this is connected how? Like, what's the spider web I have to now walk on delicately, where I'm not going to understand a damn thing?
Well, and this I'm gonna use a Marvel reference, but once the X-Men go to the Savage Land, that story is impenetrable. You know what I mean? Like you can't just jump in. It's so far removed from what those
Yeah.
characters began as.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would you try to jump in there? How could you possibly enjoy it?
Yeah.
It's like the story of Venom too. Like I understand what they did with that character, because to get to Venom
They
is like
simplified it.
6 of movies, or you know what I mean,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
explain that. So
They simplified the hell out of it, is what they did,
yeah.
to make it so that the average moviegoer could be like, oh, it's a guy in a black suit. Like, no spider on the chest, right?
Yeah.
So no symbiote suit, no Peter Parker with it taking over, no cosmic wars, no cosmics, none of that stuff, no Secret Wars. So yeah, they had to simplify it.
Well, it's like, could you
People like us would get
imagine
annoyed, but the average
explaining
movie,
that to
Pardon?
anybody normal? Like, okay,
No.
so
Yeah.
Spider-Man gets an alien costume from a machine in space,
and doesn't know that it's a symbiote,
and he wears it for 3 or 4 years before.
Yeah.
No, it's like,
and it changes his behavior and starts to try to take him over. So he rips the thing off, and
normal person's like, I'm out. You're a nerd. Get out of here. No.
now that would have worked. That would have worked if they had for example, not had the Secret Wars, but somehow had Spider-Man get the suit and wear it.
Well,
He's
they
regular Spider-Man, then it's the black suit for the second movie, and then it's Venom for the third movie.
Well,
that kind of thing could have worked, but
the Spider-Man animated series brought him through John Jameson's son, like on the spaceship. Well, that
Yeah.
totally
Yeah, that's a good
believable.
way to do it.
Yeah.
you can
Okay,
tell
last
more of a
thing-
story on a show.
Last thing on the Flash, it's kind of failing at the box office.
Oh yeah, the
Kinda.
Flash thinks it's okay.
no problem. No problem, boys. What do we
Kinda.
think about it failing? Do you think? I mean, it feels like I'm getting Green Lantern vibes with this. Like it's done. Like it's gonna top out like 200, 300 worldwide. Like, why do you
That's
guys
the
think it's
worst
fake?
comparison you could have made, Ahsoka.
I know, and it
Oh
breaks my
my
heart, guys.
God.
It breaks my heart. But what do you guys think? Why did it fail? Like,
There's some good things about Green Lantern, let's be honest.
hey, there
It's fun.
are, but
When it ended.
Oh,
Hey-o.
Choices.
someone's a savage.
Choices.
Someone chose
Kick-
violence today.
Just kidding, Rob. I love you.
Kick it off, choices. Why do you think the Flash is failing?
Yeah. I think that one, you have a lot of people online that don't really, everything is so poignant it's so dramatic. That's what I like to say. I feel like I'm having a great conversation with you guys. We don't have to agree on everything, but I'm not gonna go online and go, this is the worst movie ever, and make a big spectacle of it and everything else like that. Whereas, yeah, the CGI wasn't great, but it had a good story to it. I liked the stuff that was in it, but it is very hard to understand for normal people. And that, I think, is one of the failures. Two, for fans, they've just given up on the Snyderverse because James Gunn, before the movie came out, said, yeah, we're going to reboot this, so it doesn't really matter anymore. You know what I mean? And kind of basically said that in many ways. Like, it's going to be ending, so it really doesn't matter the whole overall working story that's coming. So I think that throws people off. And then largely things with Ezra Miller. It's kind of like a threefold axe of death right there. So
yeah, I would have to agree with Mr. Shiz that I think the number one thing that is hindering this movie is Ezra Miller's behavior off camera and in his personal life. Now, to be fair, as much as there's some shady stuff going on there, nothing has been proven yet in a court of law, right? Not in a court of law yet.
Yeah, it hasn't. Yeah.
So at this point, it's as much as it seems true and correct and believable, that nothing has been proven in a court of law. But that, in the end, whether we believe it or not, doesn't matter. You get some people that are just like, Ezra Miller is a fucking piece of shit, and I won't go see the movie because he's in it, because Warner Brothers should have just said fuck Ezra Miller and reshot the scenes. And then the logical part of my brain is like, do you realize how much money that would have been? And do you realize how many other pieces of shit in history? Do you realize that Sean Connery was okay with slapping women around? Sometimes when you're a woman, I don't really know that
I think an Ezra boycott actually is hurting it as bad as just like these versions of the characters are not beloved to normies. The Snyderverse,
but Keaton Batman is beloved.
It's not connecting with people.
Well, and I also
the Snyderverse is not, but Keaton is.
But Brad, is he a little too old though? Like that, he connects with us, this age group.
Yeah,
so
but
that's a fair statement. Yeah. But here's I want to finish off what I was going to say.
Here you go.
Here's why I think that. It's because I do not exist in a YouTube echo chamber. In other words, whether it's news, whether it's art or media reporting opinions and stuff like that, I make sure that I hear essentially both sides of the coin, because you can't be a good judge unless you have both sides of the scale. You can't just be like, haha, one side's weighed down lower. And so I hear all the people that hate Ezra Miller, and you'd be surprised how many thousands of people are boycotting it just because Ezra's in it. And I'm not saying that is the be all that end all.
You may well be right. Yeah,
it's definitely bearing some weight and consequence to the movie, right? And the problem is there are some people that they've done as much research as we can as the general public into the behavior of Ezra Miller, and they're like, okay, I can't support this, and I can't give anyone shit. I can't say that I think anyone's wrong for not seeing the movie because they disagree with Ezra Miller. That's everyone makes their own choices, and I respect their choices. I don't think they're wrong for it. I personally can't, because nothing's been proven in court so far, right? And I can't be like, well, let's also fuck over Keaton, and let's
I think, Brad, it might not be what he did specifically, but also that he hasn't been able to promote it for the last 2 years.
Well, they've kept him off the. They've kept him off.
Of course, they had a choice, but I'm saying they're
like, that guy got us.
Yeah, if he didn't have these problems, was able to actually promote this as a positive person, I don't know if it would have made much of a difference.
It probably would have made some, but I do think you guys are correct. I think part of it is really also, people are like, why do I want to go see this? But okay, when we were kids, here's a question. Did anybody here see The Last Starfighter?
A long time ago.
Yes.
On VHS, yeah.
Okay, so you saw that. Did you guys see Batteries Not Included?
Yeah,
love it.
All right, so those are two examples of new IPs that we saw. Back to the Future, another new IP that we saw.
With Eric Stoltz?
Oh,
we
forget
watched
shiz, dude.
those, and we went and watched those based off of word of mouth buzz and the trailers alone, which is my point. So the average person who maybe doesn't watch DC movies has no idea. The trailers, I thought they were pretty fantastic. And so to go with your points, I think some of it probably is not only Ezra Miller, but also just superhero fatigue in general. And what was it going up against? It was Spider-Verse is still in the theaters.
Second week of Spider.
Elemental.
Yeah.
That's another one that's in there.
Week of Spider-Verse.
The third week.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But Spider-Man is like a license for Marvel to print money, right? Stripper one's coming off the hand, just like with Batman. Shut up and license to print money. So
But
Flash
Josh, what was your thought about the normies, though? I like where you're going with that. What were you thinking about the normies?
Oh, I don't think the DCEU is connecting with people. Like
Yeah.
what Marvel does best. Their real superpower is just casting people that have great chemistry together, and you want them to interact. And
Yes.
the Justice League, the Snyderverse Justice League, is mostly wooden. They're just not compelling. And even Ben Affleck's household name, he's just not getting people. People aren't getting it up for it. And even I don't think
they don't look like they
people
fit
with the
together.
nostalgia fit of Michael
agree with
Keaton. They don't want to see Michael Keaton in a Flash movie that they don't care about the Flash.
That's a fair point.
I think that I mean, there are Schneider fandom. Obviously, they pushed it to get the Zack Schneider release, but those people are boycotting the Flash because it isn't their, Schneiderverse. But
it fits in with the Snyderverse.
I know,
it is
which
part
is
of the
crazy.
Snyderverse.
But there,
It's like a love letter to the
Right? No,
Snyderverse.
because she remembers. Remember, Iris is like,
I know,
"Haven't seen
but
you
I'm
lately?"
just saying that
That's
there are.
only
If
from the
you
Snyder
can
Cut.
watch, you can read and watch videos about people just shitting on this just because
Yes.
it's not their version of the Schneiderverse.
Yes, which is true.
I love
Which
the way
is
you say
true.
Schneider, by the way, Rob.
Yeah.
Schneider,
I think
like
we'll
the
say it like
winners.
that from now on. A Schneider.
Schneider.
Like
shit,
Schneider.
Schneider,
No, I want to have hot dogs.
Schneider.
Schneider's hot dogs.
Schneider.
I've just, I don't think I've once heard a water cooler conversation about DCEU.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People don't walk away buzzing from those
Yeah.
movies.
yeah.
I think it's like Apple and PC. I think people just shit on it just because it is DC.
DC is the PC in this.
I don't
Well, I
think
mean,
so.
have you
'Cause I
seen
think
Green
Batman's
Lantern,
more
though?
popular than any Marvel.
No, I mean, but the movies, right? People treat
Yeah.
the movies like Marvel is the Apple, and they treat it like DC is the PC, because the PC is like the old, tired, stupid guy, right? And you're right. Like the water cooler conversation, you hit it. Okay, my sister-in-law, Mary, she is not what we would call a classic nerd, right? She has watched every Marvel movie and she watches all the shows like religiously. Has she watched all the DC ones? No, she can tell the difference, but she's not a big DC fan, and that goes directly to your point.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They just don't charm people.
I just feel
Yeah.
like Marvel has so much more leeway, or
Leeway.
You know what I mean? Leeway. Thank you. But like with a DC movie, you just look for something to be off, and then it could be the minuscule thing, and then it's like trash.
Well, I mean, that's people on the internet. I outside of that world, because that whole world, the loudest voices don't necessarily represent the.
That's true. I think DC's biggest problem, and it would have changed the entire trajectory of the DC film universe, is that Superman movie. I've said it before, and I will say it till the end of time. That Superman movie, that first one they released, did I enjoy Man of Steel? Sure. I enjoyed it. It was like an adult philosophical take on superhero movies and stuff like that. But it's not the movie I would have made. I would have made a movie that is Superman, that makes people fall in love with the character again, makes us remember why we love him. You want to walk out of the theater feeling like $1,000,000 and feeling hopeful and feeling bright and warm inside. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where they screwed up. They made the reason why Man of Steel made more money than a lot of the DC movies that came after is because it was based on the fact that we had a new Superman, period. Mm-hmm. Right. And we could tell based on the trailers that this wasn't just going to be a Superman that was a love letter to Christopher Reeve, who just lifted stuff, right? But didn't really have a fight. And when he did get into a fight, he had no powers, got stabbed, and he just got beat up like a little bitch.
Well, yeah,
Right?
and then they surround the new guy with Russell Crowe and Michael
Major,
Shannon,
yes,
and Kevin Costner, people that can really
Yes.
pull their weight around and really
Major
build the whole
chops.
thing up.
yeah. So what they should have done is make that Superman movie the biggest, most hopeful, warmest thing you can possibly make, and that would have been, oh yeah. And then the next one, you go right to juxtapositioning it against a dark, gothic detective Batman, and I feel like those would have been the two movies that would have set the DC universe on fire for people. But it didn't happen that way. We got Man of Steel, and then we got the theatrical release of Batman v Superman, which was terrible in comparison to the Ultimate Cut, which at least explained everything that the theatrical cut didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything after was kind of doomed to be in middle ground. People either love it or hate it, and that's why we're so divided as a fandom over DC movies.
Now, given what's happening with The Flash failing, sadly, do you think they should do a straight no Gal Gadot, no Aquaman, nothing from the previous DC
Yes,
incarnation?
yes,
Mhm.
Yes.
yes, 100% yes.
Okay.
Reboot. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, honestly, before this movie, I was like, got to keep Gal, got to keep Jason. But after this, like the box office, I mean, it feels like Josh is right. There's
Yeah.
no connection to these characters from like the normies.
Yeah.
It's great. We all love it. It's funny because on my Instagram feed, my Twitter, I see so many
I'll be
people
back.
going back to seeing this movie multiple times this
Mhm.
past weekend. I saw it twice. Rob saw it twice. I'm gonna go again. But like, man, this is not the world we live in. Apparently, we're in a very small bubble in like where it's great for us, but not for the general audiences that honestly matter more.
I think that's where where we tend to have a lot of fun though is because we love to talk about toys and toys with movies. And even if this movie wasn't great, which I'm totally stoked it was, we actually got some pretty decent McFarlane figures, out of this. Spin Master did great toys as well.
Yeah.
The one hiccup is the bad canopy on the Batmobile, I think,
Mhm.
The Dark Flash, Dark Flash makes more sense to me now, and what we got with the figure.
Yep.
I think they could have done a little bit more, but it's if you don't like, I've always said, if you don't like movies, at least the toys can at least elevate it for you, and you can just headcanon what you want and have it on your shelf, So
Like Green
look at
Lantern.
like Green Lanterns. I heard McFarlane is making that. No, I'm just kidding. Green Lantern.
I would buy those.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we got a few minutes left. Let's go to comments.
I got one final thing, I think.
Go for it, dude. Go for it.
This movie, I am, whether it succeeds or fails, it doesn't really matter because DCEU is over. But I am so stoked that Andy Muschietti is going to be directing Brave and the Bold.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the tone of this movie and the way they were able to handle the dark and gritty and handle the Looney Tunes and silly, and they all worked. All those different flavors worked perfectly. For most of our lives, and before even, like, the pendulum has swung on Batman in particular between bright, colorful, campy, silly, and dark, gritty, serious, brooding. And for the last 10 years, it hasn't been swinging back and forth. It's just been gritty, brooding. And I want to see a blue and gray Batman with the Bat family and villains, outlandish villains pulling off themed heists and stupid crap.
Yeah.
I want to see that stuff, man. And I want to see henchmen, dressed like their boss, like that's the stuff I want to see. And like, I mean, there's a lot of the dark, serious stuff that I do like. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that doesn't belong, but like Dark Knight Returns is an Elseworlds, man. It's not like the main universe version of Batman. It's not the definitive, like that was written as like a sophisticated piss take, basically, at the time. And it has become now, people act like that's the Batman. I'm like, no. The Batman wears spandex and he punches guys and you see the words.
I like that sophisticated piss take. I've never heard that. Those two words together.
It was.
Yeah, no, I like that, and that's
It was at the time, and then Frank Miller, like 9/11, kind of broke Frank Miller's brain, and suddenly he like kind of became the stuff he was making fun of. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right. No, I agree, and I think that would. You can't go too light, too corny. You can't go too dark. You need that middle spot that you just described. And
yeah.
I honestly think the more you can be comic book ish instead of it needs to be gritty and dark and realistic.
Yeah, realistic.
Yeah.
No.
You need to skew those words and go make this bonkers because
Fun.
if you know, look at Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a tree and a raccoon, and it works.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
so dumb, but it's
Yeah.
great, and that's where I think this stuff should now enter. We've done the campy stuff. We've done the gritty top over the top. Let's go comic book, you know, so to speak.
Yeah.
Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And comic books, for as much troubles as they've had with sales, and people have given various reasons all over the spectrum for why they're. That was a burp for those of you who are wondering why they haven't done so well. I mean, a large part is just because kids aren't reading them. And they're not reading them because that's not their medium. We live in a different age. You can do whatever you want to try and gather new people. But in general, I feel like the people that are still reading comic books are us.
The people still collecting toys too.
Yeah, we're the ones doing. So it makes sense to me that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Go, what works? Like, what are we doing that's working with these comic books that we can translate into a movie, right? And it's not going to be for everybody. But this is the problem with major companies, major studios making these films. They want them to be for everyone because the budgets are so huge.
Yeah.
Special effects cost so much. So like, we need to make this as accessible to everyone as we can. And that's the challenge right there, because I think you're right. Make them comic booky, make them bonkers. I agree. The more comic booky, the better. However, how do you make that? How do you translate that into something that will make the studios money? And it works with Deadpool. People expect that with Deadpool, right? Yeah. No problem. People expect that with certain characters, but how do you make a character that people haven't seen before? Or maybe they don't know. How do you make like a Green Lantern movie like that, where the average public is like, well, I don't want to see that. I have so much more options now, right? Yeah. Whereas before it was like you saw the trailer on TV, you were like, that looks like a good movie, eh? Yeah, let's go see that one when it comes. And that was really it. Like, right? RoboCop. Who knew who the fuck RoboCop was until the trailer?
Do you remember being kids and you know, you go to the theater, you'd have no knowledge of it, even before magazines and all that. And it would go like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers this summer. And you're like, what? Like,
you lose your shit.
You know, you write that down, like, okay, I need to see this. And that's how you would, it's kind of like with toys too. The only reason you knew toys were coming out is if you went to the store and they were sitting there.
Yeah. Well, now it's like or if they happen to preview it in
now they don't even go to the store.
Yeah.
Yeah, now they're all pre-orders. But the reason why they do it now is because everyone's got a cell phone, right? And you can post it on. Before it was like someone had to have a film camera, take a reasonable picture, send it in to someone that would publish it, right? Now it's like, hey, I'm John, whoever. I could take a picture of the new Batgirl movie on set, and I could post it on my blog or on my YouTube channel or on my Instagram. So it's like, I feel like a lot of that with the toys and with the movies and stuff is getting out ahead of it, and they're just playing the game, you know.
And you know what? Comics haven't totally died. You know, people.
No, they haven't totally.
Manga, you know, digital people. You
know, manga's different though.
The art, it's different, but the art form isn't going to die. It's just too powerful of an art form and too accessible to people that can't like create, you know, other types of things to be able to tell stories and stuff. You just see a little, you know,
floppies may die for comics, but. Because manga's thicker, right? And it's a different thing. But floppy comics, as in Marvel and DC,
it's sequential narrative art. Yeah,
I thought you meant floppy disks at first. I'm like, those are man.
No,
manga's comics. Manga's comics. If it's not comics, what the hell is it?
I know it's comics, but my point is, when you look at the sales of manga and you look at who buys manga compared to who buys Marvel and DC in general, there is some overlap. I feel like floppies, if you look at the numbers before, it was considered a bad book that didn't sell well. If it didn't make this much, it was like, that's a bad book. Well, they've lowered that number many times over the years to be like, oh, well, it sold that many copies and it did good. But those would have been failure numbers 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I guess that's my point. Like, comics themselves as an art form aren't dying, because yes, manga is a comic, as you say, sequential art with like words and word bubbles. It is a comic, but it's not comics in the sense of you get like a 30-page floppy, right? That as a printed form is dying slowly. It is. It's sad.
Guys, a couple questions from the chat. Jason Langston.
Ahsoka,
great
did we do favorite scene?
Oh no, we did not. I skipped that topic, but we can go back to it. What's that?
What were you going to say about Jason?
Answer this question.
Which two moments in the film made Zack Snyder's Justice League canon?
New moments of canon, essentially, right?
Two moments. One was Iris saying, "Hey, didn't we meet like a few years ago?"
Yeah.
There's that. I can't remember the other one though.
No, hold on. But I wanted, Jason, can we specify? They made canon, as in these are moments that we didn't see anywhere else but in the movie that made their way into canon because they connected, or are they references back specifically?
References, yeah. I think
is that what he's saying?
Yeah,
I just want to be sure before I answer it.
Yeah, I think something that's valid that validates that Zack Snyder's Justice League was like canon.
Yeah, like how he in Zack Snyder's, like when he ran back and like fixed time that way, that was beautifully done.
Yeah,
and that was part of like one of the best moments in that movie. But
I can't think of the other one. You think of Iris?
Iris, yeah, Iris for sure.
Well,
right,
if we're talking about callbacks, then we also have Zod, right, with the world.
Yeah, but that's not the Zack Snyder.
Yeah. Oh, hey, did you guys catch the Shawshank Redemption reference?
Yeah.
When he the first time he phased through the wall, the poster on the wall is the like Raquel Welch, like
yes.
on
What?
that you know, he covers the hole in the wall that he goes through.
Yeah, of course. I love that movie.
Jason says Iris and Bruce.
Oh, when he called
Okay.
Aquaman's dad, Dom Life. It had Boba Fett.
Yeah, that was funny.
He looks over and it's like
Not
you know, the worst thing
That
ever.
was great.
Yeah.
Queen of Atlantis?
I don't think so.
I gotta tell you though, my favorite scene, or the one where I was like genuinely like, I gotta talk about that on the podcast tonight, was when
Let's do it.
when the younger Barry is racing around the Batcave, and like as a kid, when I saw Batman '89, the Joker falls off. And then you see that he's laughing still, but it's that little thing in his pocket, and then Barry runs over and he goes, "Check this bag out,
Laugh bag."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I
think my favorite moment of the like the silly moment of the entire movie. I don't want to talk about the serious ones because I wasn't crying. You were crying at the end.
That
of
was
the movie.
good. No, that was a very genuine. Like,
Yeah, that was
that's
good.
tough. Yeah.
It's when we've all said, what happens if Batman tries to turn his head in his bat cowl?
I love that.
And young Barry is sitting in the Batwing, and
Yeah.
he goes, "Rah." And I tell you, both times I saw it, I laughed just as hard. That for me was the propeller guy moment from Titanic.
And I don't know if
Laughed
you
my
guys
head off.
noticed when he got his cut on his cheek.
Yeah.
This is the same spot that Keaton got his face cut.
He couldn't turn his head, so he rips the bottom of the cowl off, and then he could finally turn his head.
That is, I thought, why is he ripping the cowl off?
Yeah.
That's why he did it. You're a genius. I didn't even think of that.
See, that's why you guys got Rob here. Come on.
Look at that.
He's
I
the
think
brain.
my favorite fun scene is when Barry is telling the young Barry, "Hey, you're so obnoxious, you're exhausting, and wow, this totally makes sense. Why people, you know what I mean?" Where he's having that self-realization that he's annoying, watching himself. I don't know. I just love that. I just love that little bit of like, self-actualization, and you're just like, "Fuck, this is the way I come off." You know,
Yeah.
like I just love that scene. Yeah.
It's
He's
such
the
a
serious
memorable
one for
thing.
once.
Like even if it's just a short amount of screen time,
Yeah.
but it sticks in your head so strongly. Yeah.
I love when he's like when you first see Barry, like young Barry, and he kicks over the trash cans and he's just
Yeah.
like and then he gets tackled.
Yeah.
Just I love Ezra's humor. Like I think it's so funny. I don't know.
Alex Arrow says Supergirl flying Barry into the sky and saying to him, "I've got you." That gave him sweaty eyeballs. Yeah, that didn't give me sweaty eyeballs, but I like that. And that was also a callback to, you've got me, who's got you?
Yeah.
And that was
That
fantastic.
was nice.
My
Yeah,
favorite
that was-
scene was the baby shower.
Yeah.
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 And just the
Oh.
who the fuck's this guy? Like I love that.
Yeah, that's great.
That
Hilarious.
was great.
Oh,
When
what about when he asked him how much he weighed?
Yeah.
He pulled the ruler
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
Ugh.
yeah. And he
Oh
has
my
a
God.
bat ruler. Come on.
Yeah, he's gonna
A bat
calibrate
measuring. He's
that,
got a
yeah.
bat measuring tape.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
He's got a
bat
bat kite.
kite.
Why does he have a
Yes.
bat kite?
Those are two of
You
my
know?
notes. Actually, I mentioned both of those in the,
See,
in the
this
notes.
was a fun movie. Come on.
Yeah.
How
It
did
was such
okay,
a
but
fun movie, man.
how
Such
did
a
Kara
fun-
speak such good English?
Doesn't matter.
She's Kryptonian.
I'm
Why
just
didn't
cur-
you
I'm
eat
just
that
curious.
candy bar
Well,
Why
if you
didn't
want to
you
go,
eat the
okay, if
candy
you want to
bar
go down this rabbit
that the
hole,
girl threw
Yeah.
Why
at
was
you?
her suit in that mechanical testicle thing with her?
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
threw the
If
candy
you
bar
wanna go
at him,
down
why
the
didn't
suit,
he eat
okay.
it?
I know.
True. You could eat the
Why
candy
didn't
bar.
he eat that candy bar?
He
Yeah.
can't drop the candy
bro.
bar.
Okay,
He left
so
it laying on the ground.
in
Why?
Man of Steel,
Why did he do that?
You know someone means it when they get really close to the camera.
in Man of Steel, like they had to take the oxygen away and all that shit to like
Yeah.
get Henry like to be weakened. All they did was have like a Kryptonian silver like shank to and like killed her.
Well,
Like
they
they didn't have to like
that.
weaken her.
Yeah, I've never liked that whole idea that Kryptonian metal can cut Kryptonians, or you can fire a kryptonite bullet at Superman and kill him or pierce his skin. Both of those are shit because it
Yeah.
takes time for the radiation from kryptonite to bring down his field around his body, because he has like a natural field around him. It's like a millimeter. It covers a millimeter of his body. And he has the tough Kryptonian skin, the physiology. So that's bullshit. I hate that. That's just something that they do in the comics. And then yes, the other thing, exactly, is just why do they do that? Have like Kryptonian steel piercing them when the reality is Kryptonians, why would their steel, just because of Kryptonian, be able to pierce a Kryptonian's body who is powered by a yellow sun?
But
This
when
movie's dumb. It's dumb now. I don't like
the
it.
Flash,
He threw that.
Yeah.
He's like,
When
I'm
he
taking
got-
her into fucking two.
when he got that,
He's someone who's an expert in
What?
Kryptonian metals.
when he got that,
on the-
Why didn't she threw that candy bar at him? He said he was hungry.
Yeah.
He left it on the ground.
And it was a high.
I mean, he had time to.
That should have been the end
He
credits
kissed the
scene.
baby.
I walked out.
Exactly.
I walked out. Of the
I
theater.
did think
Okay.
it was funny though, like when he got ready and it was like starting to go the Flash, and then there was
Yeah.
like, "I love you," and then he did it again, and then it came. I thought that was kind of creative.
The end of the movie actually would have been really great if he had have walked back over and they should have had the Aquaman scene at the end of the fancy credits, and then the very final scene should have been him picking up the candy bar.
Yeah.
Picking
That
up the
would've-
candy bar.
That's a waste.
Then it
That's a
would have been
waste.
an A- for me.
Or
Would've moved
he'd
the
go
needle.
back in time to catch the candy bar.
That
and
would've
then restart
saved
the
it.
whole movie.
That would have saved his mom.
Yeah, that girl.
All right,
killed his
guys.
mom.
With that, we are going to wrap up the show and continue this candy conversation another time.
Yeah, we're
first
gonna
of all-
argue off camera.
Huge thanks to Toy Shiz and Josh.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. This was
Thank you
fun.
guys so much.
It was a blast having you guys on. I loved our discussion.
Good conversation.
Great
Two of YouTube's
conversation.
finest joined us tonight, people. Two of
Legends.
YouTube's finest.
Absolutely.
And Rob, Brad, love seeing your beautiful faces as always.
Well, thank
Love
you.
those faces. And everyone in the chat, thank you for sticking with us, guys. We hit
Yeah.
like 113 people at some point watching this.
Awesome.
Wow.
So
I see everybody's comments too. I'm just
Mhm.
kidding.
a lot of great comments, guys. And
With- With
you know,
all
it's
this
hard.
talking, it's hard to get to the comments.
It
Yeah,
is,
we didn't
it
even
is.
talk
It's
about
just
the
hard.
rotating bat wing.
Oh, we'll
was
get to
That was
that.
amazing.
That was
Great.
cool.
Look for
It's
part
hard-
2.
Part 2. I mean, it's hard being a DC fan, guys. We're like the Clippers, always getting so close as a DC fan, and then coming up short. So we have each other. We still love DC, so we'll be there for Blue Beetle.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll be
Heck
there.
yeah.
All right, guys. Have a good night. Great seeing everyone.
Thank you guys. Have
We're
a
out.
good night.